Welcome to the 2024 Martin Luther King Jr. Assembly. Born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, Martin Luther King Jr. became a prominent leader in the civil rights movement. He was an influential leader who dedicated his life to fighting for civil rights and equality for African Americans in the United States during the 1950s and 60s. His advocacy was deeply rooted in the principles of nonviolent and peaceful protests. From a young age, he was heavily influenced by his father, a church pastor who he saw stand up to segregation in his daily life. Along with his father, he was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance, which he applied to his activism. Martin Luther King Jr. played a pivotal role in organizing and leading various protests, marches, and boycotts to challenge racial segregation and discrimination. One of his most iconic moments was his historic March on Washington in 1963, where he delivered his powerful "I Have a Dream" speech. In this speech, he presented his vision of a future where people will be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. Martin Luther King Jr.'s tireless efforts eventually led to the passage of significant legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which aimed to dismantle racial segregation and protect the voting rights of African Americans. Tragically, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. However, his legacy and impact continue to resonate to this day and will impact generations to come. Martin Luther King Jr.'s unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and nonviolence serves as an inspiration to all, reminding us of the ongoing fight for social justice and equality. With that said, I would now like to introduce some of the lower school students who will be giving their thoughts on who Martin Luther King Jr. is to them.
My name is Sai J. Chandran. I am in second grade. I am here to speak to you about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a very important person who helped a lot of black and brown people work towards equal rights and the right to vote. Even when people tried to hurt him, he kept working to help people work towards a more fair and justice country. He never gave up. He's important at Boys Latin because we can try to be a great person like him. We can stand up for others, even people we don't know. We can treat each other kindly and with respect. We should never give up. Martin Luther King Jr. helped a lot of people. Today is the day we honor him.
My name is Judah. My name is Judah Ward. I'm in Miss Kelly's 5th grade class.
My name is Mason Clash. I am also in Miss Kelly's 5th grade class.
We are here today to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. We will talk about the kind man he was, what he did, and how he continues to encourage us.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a powerful person. His words empowered his generation to make changes. Even though he is no longer with us, he still empowers us today.
Martin Luther King Jr. was peaceful. He used words that were not hurtful. Instead of fighting physically, he followed his mind and soul.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a great man because he broke down barriers for other people to pursue their dreams.
Martin Luther King Jr. was courageous. People tried to tear him down, but he never broke. He kept fighting for injustice and equal rights.
Martin Luther King Jr. was compassionate. He felt other people's pain. He knew what it was like to be treated unfairly, and he tried to make things better for everyone.
Martin Luther King Jr. showed integrity. He lived according to his morals and principles, even when it was difficult.
Martin Luther King Jr. gave a famous speech about his dreams for the world. We have dreams for the world too.
At Boys Latin, I work on the student council to make positive changes in our community and other communities. As I grow, I dream to keep making changes in people's lives and minds. I want them to have lives without struggle or injustice.
I have a dream that all people will treat others the way they want to be treated. I dream that people don't choose violence but choose peace instead. I dream that people will never give up and keep pushing to make the world a better place.
Martin Luther King Jr. worked hard to make the world a better place to live.
We encourage all of you to keep dreaming and take action to make those dreams happen. Thank you. Please welcome our chorus singing Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Good morning, students, faculty, and staff, and distinguished guests. I'm thrilled to stand before you today to talk about our upcoming Martin Luther King Day of Service. This marks our second day of service on January 12th. As a school, we have committed to suspend classes on this special day and dedicate our time to give back to the community. However, it is important to remember that our involvement in the community is not only about what we can give, but also about what we can learn from our community. In the upper school, we have coordinated various service projects both on and off campus at places like Be More Beautiful Sights and the Ronald McDonald House. I want to thank our upper school CEI coordinators for their efforts and dedication on this project, Ms. West and Dr. K. These projects will provide our students with opportunities to engage directly with the community, understand its needs, and offer assistance. By participating in this project, our students will gain a deeper appreciation for the challenges faced by others and continue to develop a sense of empathy and compassion. Meanwhile, in the middle school, we have partnered with the Kids in Need Foundation. I want to thank our middle school CEI coordinator, Mr. Gamble, for his work leading this project. This foundation works tirelessly to ensure that underprivileged children have the necessary supplies to succeed in their education. Our involvement with this organization will not only provide tangible resources to those in need, but also help our students cultivate a sense of social responsibility. In the lower school, we have created a list of service opportunities for our students and their families. From what I heard yesterday, we have about 114 people involved with 44 families. I want to thank our pre-first teacher, Ms. Irving, for her incredible job leading our lower school in this project. These opportunities range from providing food and blankets for the homeless to writing cards for our elderly BL alums. By engaging in these activities, our youngest students will continue to learn the importance of kindness, empathy, and making a positive impact on the lives of others. Martin Luther King once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others? On this special day of service, we have the chance to answer that question. By suspending classes and devoting our time to the community, we are embodying the values that Martin Luther King stood for: equality, justice, and compassion, and we're living our own values of compassion, courage, and integrity. Let us embrace the opportunity to give back to the community, to learn from others around us, and to honor the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Together, we can make a difference and create a better world for all. Thank you. So, I would now like to invite Sway to the podium to introduce our special guests.
Today I have the honor of introducing Anthony L. Jenkins. He became the 8th president of Coppin State University on May 26, 2020. He's all about focusing on students, bringing in new ideas, and making teaching and research excellent. Under his leadership, CSU has expanded classes, improved enrollment, and he even did well in fundraising and other achievements. President Jenkins is also involved in various organizations and has received many honors for his leadership. He is a United States Army veteran who began his path to the presidency as a first-generation college graduate of Fayetteville State University. He earned a master's degree from North Carolina Central University and a doctorate from Virginia Tech. President Jenkins is the first graduate in the history of Virginia Tech's educational leadership and policy studies doctoral program to become a college or university president. Without further ado, Mr. Jenkins.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing, boys Latin? All right. Let's give our speakers and our young men another round of applause. Let's give your classmates a round of applause. It's great to be with you this morning. And I want to thank Headmaster Christopher Post and Michael Powell for the invitation to come and speak with you. Let's give our president another round of applause. I want to thank him as well. He and I were having a conversation, and I know that his days here are coming to an end, but he's going to go on and do great things. And I think he's heading north to do even better things. And we wish you continued success. All right. Let's give our choir a round of applause. That was incredible. You know, I never had the opportunity to meet Dr. King, but I'll tell you that what I see today and what I've heard, this is leadership and training. And he would be very pleased, very proud. So to our teachers, the mentors, those who are shaping and guiding these young men, thank you very much. Students, give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. It is an honor to be with you as we come together and we pause to celebrate, in my opinion, one of the greatest Americans our nation has ever produced, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was the product of Morehouse College, one of our nation's finest historically black colleges and institutions. Dr. King often said that he credits Morehouse for preparing him with a quality education that prepared him to be the social justice leader that he eventually turned out to be. Today, I won't stand here and read you a chronological report of Dr. King's accomplishments and his life. I won't waste your time doing that. What I will do over the next few minutes is I want to talk to you and challenge you to be a better version of yourself based on the spirit of Dr. King's work and the principles that he stood on. See, there's no question that Dr. King's work is inspiring, but it's also powerful. So powerful that it changed the moral compass of a nation. It made our country stronger. He challenged us to look at ourselves for who we truly are, and then to ask an important question. Is that who we want to be? Now, 56 years since his murder, his life continues to serve as an example of extraordinary servant leadership. His voice still gives hope to a nation, and his dreams remains a catalyst for empowerment. The work and the dream that Dr. King had, even though he was African American, it was not just for African Americans. It was for the United States of America. Those who fought alongside him, white, black, Jewish, Asian, Hispanic. See, this was a coalition of people who were committed to do better because they wanted better, not just for themselves, but for their communities, for their friends, for this country. He understood, he being Dr. King, that America could never be the great nation it proclaimed if any population was oppressed. His dream was deeply rooted in equality. He challenged our nation to rise up and deliver on his promise that is etched in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Emancipation Proclamation. With steadfast conviction, he confronted those who found comfort. He confronted those who found comfort in a nation sweltering in oppression. You know, I recall vividly as a young man, the time I first heard his "I Have a Dream" speech. It was Black History Month, and I was sitting in Miss Queen's third grade class on the southeast side of Washington, D.C. As I watched the black and white footage of his speech, I was struck by his demeanor. See, there was something about his words, the calmness in his face, yet the urgency in his voice. At such a young age, I was too naive to fully comprehend the profoundness of his message. I could not appreciate the conversation that he was having with America because I had not experienced the oppression and the racism that he had. Nevertheless, what he said and how he said it has stood with me throughout my life. And as I sat and I listened to Dr. King on that day, I had no idea that based on my race, my gender, my socioeconomic status, that society had already written a script for me. A script with limited opportunities, a bleak future, if one at all. See, but what society failed to understand, that I had a strong, beautiful mother. I had faith. And through my HBCU, Fayetteville State University, I earned a quality education. And that I refused to be the lead actor in the script that society had written. I was going to write my own. See, that's the power of self-belief. That's the power of having people believe in you. That is the power of a quality education. It will transform you. It will nurture you. Holistically, it will move you to a place where you are unstoppable. See, there'll always be naysayers and cynical people. People who tell you what you cannot do. What they're really saying is that they can't do it. Folks who are quick to tell you that your dreams are not realistic, that you're too ambitious. Those folks, those haters, you simply brush them aside. You don't pay attention to folks who try to distract you from your destiny. Those who want you to cow down. Those who want you to stay in your place. See, that's not what Dr. King fought for. That's not what he stood on. He believed that if we were true to ourselves, there's nothing we could not accomplish, and everyone, if opportunity was authentic, could achieve. When I was younger and I would have these conversations, I would talk to my mother and my teachers about what it was like growing up in that era. And when I heard some of the horror stories, and I hear people today say, we need to go back to the good old days. I don't know who the good old days was for, but it wasn't for everybody. And so today, you have an opportunity. This is not just about listening to what a young man did many decades ago. Today is about you. It is about reflection and soul searching. It is about becoming a better version of who you are right now. See, King knew that he would encounter all types of people. And he knew that he would never allow them to deter him from his goal. He understood that regardless of hatred and racism and prejudice, that he was going to forge ahead. He made sacrifices that I'm sure many people today would never make. He was willing to sacrifice his family, his livelihood, and most importantly, his life. He understood that what he was doing, that he himself may never get to benefit from. And that is leadership. That is courage. Because when you are committed to change, when you are committed to making the world better, it is highly likely that the change you seek, you may not ever benefit from. It is for those who come behind you. And I want you to know this. Your generation is special. Your generation is majestic. See, you will inherit the most diverse nation we've ever had. You can no longer live, work, grow, and socialize in a vacuum. You must get out and interact with those who look differently, think differently, and come from different places. That is your mission. That is the assignment. That is what I'm asking of you today. The embracing of our differences and using our commonalities to unite us is strength. Who among you will accept that challenge? Who among you will be a change agent? See, the choice is ours. Let us not forget that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Each of you in this room, your voice, your emotional intelligence, your intellectual curiosity is needed. Every one of you are necessary. The world would be void of something great if you were not in it. Don't squander the opportunity before you. Don't shrink in the moment. Strength comes within. It's not about those who stand to your right or to your left. It is about the individual that you look in the mirror at and say, I will make a difference. I want to make a difference. And I'm starting with me. See, we are in a time in our nation where we need young men of honesty, not doing the right things only when people are watching, but doing the right thing because it's the right thing, whether it's hard or easy. We need young men of integrity and sound character, those who are willing to accept their role in fighting for a more just society, a more just community, a more just school. Those are the young men that we need. Those are the young men that Boys Latin are producing. Those are the young men that you are. That is the assignment. You get it. Now it's about completing it. Now that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But excellence is in your reach. Honesty is always within. Integrity focuses you in ways that you may not appreciate at this moment. Each of us in this room owe a debt that we could never repay. Because of Dr. King and his dream, our nation changed. Laws changed. Communities changed. In 2008, the White House changed. And because of what he did, America voted and elected its first African-American president. A moment in our nation's history. A small blip on the radar. It is that type of energy, that type of change that I want each and every one of you to embrace. To know that you have the ability to make a difference. I want you to also understand and appreciate that you have a responsibility to add to Dr. King's legacy. This is not something that happened moons ago and does not affect you. You are here today hearing precisely what you need to be hearing. You are here today hearing precisely what you should be hearing. I want you to possess a mindset of change. I want you to look out for each other. I want you to know at Boys Latin that I want you to commit yourself to understanding that iron sharpens iron. I'm challenging you to help fight for the world, not as it is, but for the way that it should be, more just and more equitable. If you look through your school, if you look across your community, if you look at your friends, if you do not see leaders, if you do not see change agents, if you do not see those committed to doing better, then it's time for you to step up. See, looking for others to do it, those days are over. I'm challenging you to take on that responsibility. We all have an opportunity to do something, to get engaged, to make a difference. The choice is ours. We must be unafraid to challenge ourselves, our friends, the organizations that we belong to, the communities that we live in. Who among us will stand in the gap? Remember, nothing you do in life will be more powerful than your example. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but rather the silence of our friends. Let us never forget our past. From it, we have evolved. Because of it, we are stronger as a nation. So with our eyes on the horizon and Dr. King's dream still unfulfilled, let us continue to fight the good fight. Let our example serve for something greater than our own self-purpose. And never forget that the responsibility is ours to do better, be better, and want better. Boys Latin, that is the assignment. Accept it. You are the future. There is greatness in this room. and I challenge you to let it show all the days of your life. Thank you, congratulations, and go Lakers.
Thank you, President Jenkins, for your remarks this morning and for honoring us with your presence. We gather as a community, as a whole community, K-12, only a couple of times each year, and always it is to celebrate and acknowledge the life and work of Dr. King. President Jenkins, I appreciate the connections that you made to Dr. King's work and our mission and our motto, Esse Quam Modere, to be rather than to seem, encouraging each of our students to be the best version of himself so that he can, on the morning of his graduation, look in the mirror and say, the man I see in front of me is the man that I'm trying to be. Fellas, won't you join me in thanking President Jenkins once again? There are so many who contributed to the richness of today's program. Please join me in thanking Cy, Judah, Mason, Colin, and Sway for your remarks. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. In advance, join me in thanking Logan Hollins as well for his remarks to come. Thank you, Logan. There are a number of faculty and staff members who collaborated today. Please join me in thanking Ms. Young, Ms. Windsor, Mrs. Irving, Mr. Rickles, Mr. Bareford. Join me as well in thanking Mr. Gamble, Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Pisarcik, Ms. West, Mr. McDonald, Dr. K, and helping to organize in the upper school as well. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Powell, for your leadership and vision for what this morning's assembly could be. Thank you, Michael. President Jenkins talked about the opportunity that each of you have, but most importantly, the responsibility. The responsibility to be the best version of yourself, and in honoring the life and work and the legacy of Dr. King, using those gifts and talents to make our school, our communities, and our world a better place. I can't think of more noble and important work, and I'm so grateful for you to each do your best each and every day. With that, I invite the chorus back up for another number. Fellas, thank you.
We shall overcome.
I can't help but admit that out of the many speeches I have given in the past, this has been by far the hardest to write because, frankly, as a 17-year-old white boy, I recognize the audience that I am speaking to, and I know that for many this is an emotionally charged day. One idea that sparked my thinking was an anecdote from a book I started reading over the break. The idea is rather abstract, so please trust and bear with me. The story begins with, quote, "There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, 'Morning, boys, how's the water?' The two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, 'What the heck is water?'" It's not that funny. That wasn't meant to be a laugh line. Okay, the idea behind that story is that reality can be often hard to see or talk about, no matter how obvious it is to some of us, or maybe even only one of us. After all, fish do not know they live in water, but if there is even the slightest change in temperature, they will notice. Of all the changes Dr. King faced, I cannot help but believe that might have been one of the hardest. In his eyes, excuse me, I lost my place here. There we go. I cannot help but believe that might have been one of the hardest. In his eyes, racial inequality was extremely obvious, an ethical issue that also hampered the ability of blacks to rise through society. The connection that I am trying to make to the story that I just told is that although for him, and for us looking back now, the reality was so obvious, for many people that was not the case. So the first and possibly most difficult task was convincing people that the problem did not just affect him, but it affected them as well. The issue applies on a significantly smaller scale as well. Imagine that you are in the upper school taking the engineering elective. As you are building your design, you have an inkling that there is a deep structural flaw in it. You check your math and you notice an error in your equation. You present the issue to your group, but not only do they not see the same flaw in the design that you see, they don't even understand the equation you used. Perhaps this sounds a bit more relatable. Connecting all of this to why we are here today, the question that I will now seek to answer is how MLK solves this problem. As hard as it might have been, he would not insult and demean the intelligence of the other person. He could instead point to a segregated water fountain and ask, why must people of different races be required to drink from a different water fountain? And why is it that the water fountain that we are required to drink from of a significantly lower quality than the water fountain that the white people drink from? If that example doesn't work, he might have to probe a little bit further, but eventually he would get his point across. Then, once he had rallied others to his cause, he could begin his more known work of organizing large-scale peaceful protests and building connections at the highest levels of government in DC to pass what is some of the most influential legislation in US history. Here is my message for today. A mistake that we often make when we find ourselves in a similar predicament is that we demean and insult the intelligence of the other person, while giving no recognition of the fact that their life experience does not put them in a position to have any familiarity with the issue. If you look in many of the classrooms, you will notice a paper that says Community Conversation Agreements. They serve as an excellent guideline of how to avoid having this problem, among others. Dr. King approached that problem with respect and compassion, and I believe this is a part of his legacy that we often overlook. And that is why I wanted to shed light on it today. Especially because for me as a leader, I can admit that this has been something that I've struggled with. But today is a day that I commit myself to changing that. So as I head back to class for the rest of the day, that is a thought that I will be keeping at the forefront of my mind. And in Dr. King's honor, I hope that you will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Logan. That was great. Great reflection. I want to thank you all today for being with us. We spent an hour thinking about and reflecting on Martin Luther King Jr. Once again, I want to thank Dr. Jenkins for coming down from Coppin State. So let's give him a round of applause again.